Hi everybody, this is Miss Cheryl. I want to thank you for all being here, and I miss seeing you very much. Today we're going to talk about some things that happened to a guy called Pharaoh. Now, when you go outside, you can see trees and birds and grass, well, maybe dirt and rocks. And we know that God is our creator, and God created everything. But back in the time when Pharaoh was in power, he thought he was God. So there started to be a little challenge there because Pharaoh was challenging God in several ways. So during Pharaoh's time, there were a lot of gods. They had gods that worshipped the Nile River. There were gods of frogs. There were gods of gnats and flies, and just about a god for anything you can think of. And people were supposed to remember all of these and worship them. Well, this story comes around to where we show the reason that our God is the one true God. And this is a lesson that God wanted the Israelites to learn. So, if you remember, when we were talking about Abraham, Abraham spoke to God. Abraham and God had conversations. Well, Moses, sometime later, also spoke to God, and God spoke to him. Do you remember how God talked to him? It was through the burning bush. So God wanted Moses to go to Pharaoh and tell Pharaoh to let his people go, because Pharaoh had had the Israelites in slavery for a long, long time, and they needed to be freed. So Moses went to Pharaoh. What do you think Pharaoh's answer was? Nope, I'm not going to set them free. So God said, okay, you're not going to set them free? I'm going to give you something that you will remember. So he turned the Nile River into blood. Now, if you've ever seen a river, like the Mississippi River or any big river, rivers are huge. They're not just little tiny streams and creeks. They're large enough to carry boats, more than one boat at a time. And the Nile River is one of the longest rivers in the world. So if you consider all of that turned to blood, do you think Pharaoh could do something like that? No. It was our God. Do you think Pharaoh was able to change his mind? No. Pharaoh was very, very stubborn because he knew that he was God, and our God was wrong. So Moses had to go back and ask Pharaoh again. God says, let my people go. Pharaoh once again says, nope, not going to do it. No way. So God said, okay, I'll send you something else to think about. So God sent frogs. Frogs were everywhere. They were on the ground. They were in your bed. They were in your clothes. Everywhere you walked or sat or just tried to move, there were frogs. It was awful. Can you imagine having to try to walk around in frogs? That still didn't convince Pharaoh. So Moses once again talked to God. God said, you have to go talk to Pharaoh. Tell him to let my people go. So Moses went again. He said to Pharaoh, God says, let my people go. Once again, Pharaoh said, no, I don't think so. So he sent something that is very annoying. Can you guess what it is? Gnats everywhere. There were gnats everywhere on everything. If you looked at your hand would be covered with gnats. They didn't have paper then, but whatever they were eating was covered with gnats. There were so many gnats that they made the ground black. Do you think that made Pharaoh consider letting them go? He might have, because it was kind of annoying. But again, he said, nope, not going to do it. So Moses went back to God. God said, tell Pharaoh to let my people go. Moses went back to Pharaoh. God says, let my people go. Pharaoh says, nope, not going to do it. So this time, God sends flies. Flies are annoying. I hate flies. There were not just flies flying around. There were flies on everything, everywhere. Your clothes, your bed, you open your mouth, you got flies in your mouth. On your food, in your drink, on your animals. Flies were everywhere. Do you think that was enough to tell Pharaoh that maybe you should let the people go? No, it wasn't. Once again, Moses went back and talked to God. God said again, go tell Pharaoh, let my people go. Moses again went back to Pharaoh. Do you think Pharaoh was getting tired of seeing Moses? I do, but why wouldn't he do anything? So he just remained stubborn because Pharaoh thought he was God. And Moses said, let my people go. Pharaoh said, nope, not going to do that. So then God said, okay, I'm going to get his attention this way. And he killed their animals. Now, the animals were very important to them because not only were they food sources, but they also kept the very best for sacrifices and all kinds of other things. So now we've had the river turn to blood, frogs, gnats, flies, dead animals. Do you think that would do it? Still no. So Moses went back and talked to God. God said, tell Pharaoh, let my people go. He went back to Pharaoh and said, God says, let my people go. Pharaoh again says, nope. So God said, well, okay. And he gave people sores all over their bodies. These were itchy, blistering sores. If you've ever had a blister, imagine them all over your body. Inside your mouth, inside your ears, on the bottom of your feet, on your hands, everywhere you can think, there were sores. People were in agony. That included Pharaoh. But do you think he would let the people go like God asked? Nope. He still wouldn't do that. So then Moses went back and talked to God. God again said, tell Pharaoh to let my people go. He goes back to Pharaoh and again says, God says, let my people go. Once again, Pharaoh says, no. So now God sends a hailstorm. Have you ever seen a hailstorm? Those are pieces of ice that fall down. They can be very tiny or they could be big. They can be huge. They can be like baseball size, golf ball size. They can be all sizes. And I don't know what size God made these hailstones, but they had an incredible hailstorm. And Pharaoh still said, nope, I'm not going to let your people go. So Moses went back and talked to God. God said, go tell Pharaoh, let my people go. So Moses went back to Pharaoh and said, God says, let my people go. And so Pharaoh, once again, said, no, I don't think so. So by this time, God was saying, okay, all right. And he sent locusts. Do you know what locusts are? They're like kind of like grasshoppers. There were so many, the ground was covered black. There were locusts everywhere, like with the flies and the gnats and everything else. Everything you touched had locusts on them. Grasshoppers everywhere. Can you imagine? But did that make Pharaoh let the people go? Nope. So I'm going to give you complete darkness for 3 days. Now that darkness is not like the kind of darkness that we have living in the city. We have street lights, we have darkness. But you know who had light? The Israelites. They were the only ones that had light, and that light followed the Israelites wherever they went. And the rest of the people were walking into walls, walking into each other. They couldn't see their hands in front of their faces. It was so dark. But do you think Pharaoh would let the people go? No. He wouldn't let the people go. God wanted Pharaoh to understand and obey him. He wanted the Israelites to trust him and obey him. There's still one more plague left, but we're going to save that for next week. So, during this upcoming week, obey God, trust him, listen to God, because you never know when you're going to get a plague of frogs. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.